Stop everything. In the next 30 seconds, I need to tell you something that could save you from wasting what might be the best years of your life. Your guardian angel filed a report at 3:47 a.m. last Tuesday about you specifically. And what I'm about to reveal will make sense of why retirement feels more like death than freedom. Type 7 in the comments. Right now. If you retired in the last 5 years or you're within 3 years of retiring, do it before you read another word. This isn't engagement. This is a signal to the angelic realm that you're ready to hear what's been hidden from you. Type 777. Heaven is counting who responds. Angels are watching. Do it now. You're 62 years old, or 58, or 65. You worked 35 years for this moment. Freedom, rest, the chance to do what you want, and now you have it. You don't recognize yourself in it. 3 months ago, you walked out for the last time. They threw a party, gave you a watch, then you went home. Next morning, first time in decades, you woke with nowhere to be. That feeling in your chest turned from anticipation into dread, emptiness. Who am I when I'm not what I do? This isn't adjustment. This is a pointed wilderness between one calling and the next. You're one of 144,000 being awakened this exact season. Divine timing has converged with your readiness. What happens in next 18 minutes determines whether you spend remaining years wandering or stepping into what you were prepared for. Like this video right now. Not later. Now. Because what you're about to discover will challenge everything you thought retirement was supposed to be. Like it now. This is your agreement with the shift that's trying to happen. Ancient wisdom from every tradition recognizes what you're experiencing. Moses thought his life was over at 80, living in the desert tending sheep, but that's when the burning bush appeared and his real calling began. Abraham was 75 when God said, "Leave everything you know and go somewhere you've never been." Caleb was 85 when he said, "Give me this mountain, I'm not done yet." The mystics call this the second journey, when you finally have freedom from survival and can discover what your soul actually came here to do. Carl Jung called it the confrontation with meaning. You can't hide behind busyness anymore. You have to face the question, what matters? This isn't midlife crisis. This is end of career reckoning. And it's far more profound because there's no going back to pretending anymore. Richard from Manchester, 63, retired from banking after 38 years. 6 months later, his wife found him at 7 a.m. in pajamas staring at wall. He said, "I don't know what I'm for anymore." Not depression, identity collapse. For 38 years, Richard made decisions that mattered. Now his children don't need his advice. Colleagues stopped calling. Days stretch empty. Then he typed 777. Within 2 weeks, he started getting dressed mornings, reading for interest not business, exploring consulting project about meaning not money. 6 months later, I stopped trying to be who I was and started discovering who I'm becoming. That's what I'm offering. Not cure, but reframe that opens what's emerging. Comment. Stop if you need permission to stop pretending retirement is what you expected. One word. Type it now. Because what I'm about to tell you about the mistakes you're making will only land if you first give yourself permission to tell the truth. Your throat chakra, the energy center of authentic expression physically located at your throat, where you feel tightness when you're swallowing words you need to say, has been closed for decades. The Bible says, death and life are in the power of the tongue. Proverbs 18:21. Your voice matters. Not just the words you speak outward, but the truths you've been swallowing inward. How long has it been since you said these words out loud? I'm lost. I don't know who I am anymore. I'm scared this is all there is. Typing one word. Stop is the first crack in that decades-old blockage. Do it. Your body is listening. Your nervous system is watching. Type. Stop. Here are the 5 mistakes that are keeping you trapped in this suffocating pattern. And if you don't correct these in the next 72 hours, you'll spend the next 5 to 10 years wandering in a wilderness that was only meant to be a passage. Mistake 1. You're trying to fill the void with the same things that created it. You retired from work, so you think the answer is more activity, more golf, more travel, more grandkid babysitting, more projects around the house. You're staying busy because when you stop, the emptiness screams. But here's what ancient wisdom reveals. The void is not your enemy. The void is your invitation. In the Bible, before God creates anything, Genesis says the earth was formless and void, and the Spirit hovered over the waters. The Hebrew word for hovered is rakaf. It means vibrated, brooded, moved with anticipation. The void isn't absence, it's pregnant possibility. It's the womb where new identity is being formed. But you can't birth what's trying to emerge if you keep filling the womb with distractions. Right now, place your hand on your chest. Do it. Feel that heaviness. That's not sadness. That's your heart chakra, the center of purpose, connection, and meaning located physically where you feel that pressure, trying to crack open after being compressed into career-shaped container for 40 years. The mystics understood something modern culture forgot. There are seasons when your soul requires you to be empty, to be still, to let everything you thought you were fall away. Not because you're depressed, because transformation cannot happen while you're grasping for old identity. You have permission to do nothing right now, to sit in the void, to stop filling every hour, to admit I don't know who I am outside of what I did, and that's terrifying. That permission is not weakness. That permission is the doorway to your second journey. Mistake 2. You're measuring your worth by productivity metrics that no longer apply. You wake up asking, what did I accomplish today? How was I useful? These questions worked for 40 years, but universal law reveals the metrics that built first-half success will sabotage second-half significance. You're not in productivity season anymore. You're in wisdom season. Ecclesiastes says there is a time for everything, a time to plant, a time to harvest. You spent 4 decades planting, building, producing. This is harvest season. But harvest doesn't mean more production. Harvest means receiving what was planted, becoming the elder who's valuable not for doing, but for being. That shift in energetic frequency is massive. Your entire life you vibrated at doing frequency, fast outward achieving. Now the universe is shifting you to being frequency, slower inward integrating. The Bible speaks of this in Psalms. David writes, in the morning you flourish, by evening you fade. He's talking about life seasons. You're in evening of productivity season, and that's not failure, that's design. Evening brings the long golden light that helps you see what you were too busy to notice at noon. Share this video with 3 people right now. 1 person around your age who retired and seems lost. 1 friend who's approaching retirement and terrified of it. 1 person still working who thinks retirement will solve everything. Share it now. When you do this, you create what the Bible calls bearing one another's burdens. Galatians 6:2. What energy workers call frequency resonance. When multiple people vibrate at same truth, it amplifies breakthrough for all of you. 3 points of consciousness activating simultaneously. 3 people admitting. We thought retirement was the destination, but it's actually just another passage. This amplifies the cosmic shift happening. Share it before you keep reading. Mistake 3. You're trying to go back instead of going forward. You miss the office structure, the identity, the feeling of mattering. So you think about part-time work or consulting. Nothing wrong with working after retirement if aligned with the soul's next chapter. But most people returning to work are trying to resurrect old identity instead of discovering new one. The story of Lot's wife reveals this. When angels said, "Flee and don't look back," She couldn't help herself. She looked back at what was burning and turned to salt. When you look back with longing at what's supposed to be over, you freeze, stuck between what was and what could be. There's cosmic principle. New wine cannot go into old wineskins, Matthew 9:17. You can't pour new calling into old career container. To build new wineskin, you have to let go of old one. That means sitting in space between which is exactly where you are. This is appointed wilderness. Moses spent 40 years in desert between being Egyptian prince and Hebrew liberator. That wasn't wasted time, that was transformation time. Desert stripped away who he thought he was so he could discover who he actually was. Your retirement wilderness does the same. Mistake 4. You're trying to skip grief and jump straight to gratitude. Every retirement book says, be grateful. Enjoy it. But forced gratitude is spiritual bypassing. What you actually feel is grief. Grief for identity that died, relevance that ended, version of yourself that no longer exists. That grief is not ingratitude, that grief is holy. The Bible is full of lament. Lamentations. Psalms of lament. Naomi telling people, call me Mara, meaning bitter. Scripture never says skip grief. It says weeping may endure for a night, joy comes in morning. Psalm 35. Weeping comes first. Your heart chakra in your chest needs to grieve what's lost before opening to what's coming. When you skip grief with toxic positivity, you lock it inside the body. Locked grief becomes depression, but when you allow grief to move through, when you say, I'm grieving who I was, something shifts. Ancient wisdom. What you resist persists, what you feel heals. Give yourself permission to be sad, to miss the office, to feel weight of decades passing. That's not weakness, that's passage from one world to another. Mistake 5. You think this is about you when it's actually about legacy. Here's the shift that changes everything. You spent 40 years building career. That season is complete. Now you're in legacy season. But legacy doesn't mean what you built in your career. Legacy means what you pass to next generation through your presence, your wisdom, your transformed self. Biblical pattern is clear. Abraham's greatest legacy wasn't wealth. It was covenant passed to Isaac. Moses' legacy wasn't leading Exodus. It was Joshua carrying leadership forward. David's legacy wasn't kingdom. It was Solomon building temple David envisioned. The elder's job is not to keep doing what made them successful. The elder's job is to become wise enough to guide next generation into their calling. But you can't guide from old identity. You can only guide from transformed identity. That's why this wilderness season matters. You're being transformed from achiever into elder, from doer into sage, from producer into wisdom keeper. And that transformation requires you to release old metrics and embrace new purpose. Your adult children don't need you to keep achieving. They need you to become the parent who's finally present, finally wise, finally at peace enough to really see them. Your grandchildren don't need you to be busy. They need you to be the elder who has time, who has stories, who carries calm instead of stress. The world doesn't need another retiree trying to stay relevant through old achievements. The world needs elders who've done the inner work, who've faced the void, who've grieved what's lost, and who've emerged as carriers of wisdom. That's your cosmic assignment now. Not to keep doing, but to become. And becoming requires being emptied first. Margaret, 60, Auckland. Retired teaching. Spent first year trying to stay busy, exhausted, proving value. Then typed 777. Stopped forcing busyness, sat with emptiness. What emerged, watercolor painting she'd loved, but had no time for. 6 months later, small painting circle meets weekly, not career calling. She says, I finally understand the difference. Robert, 64. Toronto. Retired Law kept getting pulled back. Realized he was resurrecting old identity, stepped back completely, 6 months in the void. Then his son asked Robert to mentor him, not in law, but life wisdom. Now Robert meets monthly with young lawyers about navigating pressure he knows intimately, preventing what almost destroyed me. These aren't miracles. These are what happen when you walk through passage instead of fighting it. When you allow old identity to die so new purpose can be born. Subscribe to this channel right now and ring the bell, because 72 hours from now I'm releasing part 2, the 5 signs your second calling is trying to emerge. In that message, I'm revealing the subtle signals that new purpose is forming, the synchronicities that aren't coincidence, the desires that keep surfacing, the people who keep appearing, the invitations you keep dismissing. Angels are watching who subscribes, not to judge, to witness who's serious about walking through wilderness into promised land instead of wandering in circles until death. Subscribe now, ring the bell. The next message will show you exactly what to look for as new calling emerges. Pay attention to your body right now, your breathing, your heart rate, the pressure you've been carrying. Because in the next 60 seconds, something is shifting, the void you've been running from. It's about to become your ally. Your reorientation begins in 5. Place both hands on your heart. Feel that weight. That's decades of identity compressed into one space. You're about to give it permission to expand. 4. Take a deep breath, not shallow chest breath, all the way down to belly. Fill your lungs completely. The book of Genesis says God breathed into Adam's nostrils the breath of life. That ruach, that spirit, is trying to fill you again with new purpose. 3. Feel your feet on ground. Press them down. You're here, still alive, still breathing, still becoming, not done just in passage. 2. Say out loud, even if quietly, I don't know who I'm becoming, and that's okay. Your throat is opening to speak truth again. 1. Reoriented. Not because I declared it, because you're still here after 40 years of productivity pressure. You survived the career. Now you get to discover the calling underneath it. That staying power, that resilience, that's what qualifies you for wisdom season. May you give yourself permission to grieve who you were without shame. May you sit in the void without filling it frantically. May the emptiness become womb instead of tomb. May you discover that worth isn't about productivity, but presence. May your adult children finally meet the parent who's not too busy to really see them. May your grandchildren know the elder who has time. May the second half of your life be about depth, not breadth, being not doing legacy, not achievement. May what emerges from this wilderness be more true than what you built in your career. May the dark night become doorway. Final actions like this video. That's your signature, you're done wandering. Comment 777 or stop. Or I'm ready. Whatever word landed in your chest, that's your declaration. Share with 3 people, that's your witness circle forming. Subscribe and ring bell. That's commitment to part 2. Do it now, because in 72 hours, part 2 drops, and if you're not subscribed, you'll miss the roadmap for recognizing your second calling. This isn't motivation. This is navigation through the wilderness, and you need it. Do not wait. Do not hesitate. This moment is asking for response. Not someday, now. Your retirement isn't ending of your life, it's reorientation of your purpose. The career was preparation. What's coming is fulfillment, but you have to walk through void to get there. Remember this moment. Mark it somehow. Write the date, because 6 months from now, year from now, you'll look back and say, that was when I stopped running from the emptiness and started listening to what it was trying to tell me. Not fixed, not figured out, but reoriented. And reorientation is how transformation begins. 1 degree at a time. Your second journey starts now.